Greetings, everyone. This is Professor Donna, and I wanted to go over the grading rubric for the Week 3 Assignment 2, Introduction to Business Plan. The goal of this is to show you the detailed grading rubric that you will be graded upon. You can access the grading rubric if you go to the Week 3 Assignment 2. It will outline and give you a grading rubric that shows that the assignment is worth 200 points. At the bottom, there's a clipboard with a check mark that says, click here to view the rubric for this assignment. And if you click on that, it will open up the Word document that you are now seeing on your screen. So I'm doing this video in hopes that it will help you understand the expectations of this assignment. While this is not a full business plan, I do look at this assignment as if I was a banker or an investor with the money to give you to start your business, would I do that? Have you done your research? Have you convinced me that this is a sound product and that it would be successful in the long term? So that's how I look at each of these assignments, but I also look at them as going, they haven't got the 5 years worth of research out into the future. So let's start with the first item, is to describe the ownership of your business. And in one of the classrooms, I believe it was week 2, I posted some information about the different ways that you can set up a business. And so this is 30 points, and you need to identify how to set up your business and the advantages and advantages of that setup. Now, there can be some confusion on an LLC, which is the Limited Liability Corporation, because people want to be the owner. You can still be the owner of the business, the sole owner of the business, and be an LLC. The difference has to do with liability. There are certain businesses and certain types of businesses and industries that are more susceptible to being sued and getting into legal battles in which that you could lose your home, your car, your life savings if you are that of a sole proprietor. So my personal recommendation is anytime that you're dealing with food, children, or something like that, you want to be at a minimum an LLC so that you're not at risk of losing your home or anything personal, your cars or your personal savings. So it's more for protecting, you and the business. You're still the owner, but that's something for you to consider. But I do look at things that involve food and children or people where somebody could get hurt. You might want to consider at a minimum an LLC, okay? The next one is description of your target audience. Describe your target audience. Please know that I am actually looking for research on your target audience. This isn't who you think is your target audience. This is where you've done research to determine who might truly be interested. Who you think might be your customer and who your customer is typically are two different things, and this is where marketers miss the boat, is because they make assumptions based upon who they think is their target audience without the proper research. And target audiences are typically described in terms of age and gender, race, depending on the business, religion. It can be marital status, education status, job status. It really is relative to the industry. We look at taste. Now, let me give you a couple of examples. One, before you try and tell me that everybody is my customer, I'm going to tell you that's a myth. You are not going to target 100% of the population, because 100% of the population is not going to be your target audience. I'll even pick on basics such as sugar or flour, companies. There are people who don't do sugar because of dietary needs, or they don't do white flour. You know, gluten, if you're gluten, you have to use a special kind of flour. So even the basics, even if I say milk or eggs, those two products cannot say that everybody is their customer, because it doesn't work that way. Not everybody drinks milk. Not everybody eats eggs. Not everybody uses sugar. Not everybody uses flour. So we have to really break it down. Or another way of looking at it is urban clothing wear. Urban clothing is very popular, but not everybody wears that style. If you're going to do an urban clothing store, well, I'm not going to be your target audience, because that's not my style either. So we have to look at the target audience really and be specific in terms of age. Are they within the age group that they would be interested in my product? What gender are they? Some products are meant for women and some are for men. So we have to look at those kinds of things. We have to look at different things. You may even want to look at sexual orientation. If you want to open a bar that caters to homosexuality or the LGBT, I probably got those letters wrong, so I'm sorry. If you want to cater to that type of audience, then you might want to consider that as well. You're going to want to consider, you could consider race, you could consider income. Because you know what? Without the proper money, they can't buy your product. I mean, it's like Starbucks. Starbucks goes for a particular type of customer because somebody's got to want to pay $5 to $7 for a cup of coffee. Okay? So we got to look at those. Education may play a role. Marital status. If you're going to have a daycare, you're not going to look at me. I don't have children. And if I did have children, those would all be grown. So I don't have a need for a daycare. So marital status, whether they have kids, whether they don't have kids, it's all relative to what you're trying to do. If you're doing a nonprofit, you might be looking at your target audience being donators, people who are going to donate money to keep your charity alive. So you need to describe that. If you're going after a business, you're not going to sell to the individual, but you're going to sell to a business, then you want to look at what size of company is it? You know, what's their revenue going to be? How many employees do they have? So different, it depends on what you're doing. So you want to look at it and you want to be specific. As I said, you can't cater to everybody. No, there is not a product out there where not even soda. Soda is one of the most popular drinks out there, but not everybody drinks soda. I know a lot of people, and I have a lot of friends who don't drink any carbonated beverage at all. So those are things to consider. Next up on the list for 50 points is how do you promote your business? And this is where you're looking at your 4 P's. This is where you're looking at describing the product. Okay, give it to me in details. You're looking at the place. Where is this business going to be? Now, place can also be where is it going to be. If you're going to make a product, you know, you got to talk about, is it going to be on the shelf? You know, are you going to sell it and it's going to be at eye level or wherever? You got promotions, which is your public relations, your advertising, your sales, all of those kinds of things. And then your price. What's your pricing strategy going to be? It doesn't mean you have to specifically tell me the price of your product, because you may not know that until, you may not know the price you're going to need to charge until you've determined what it's going to cost you to run the business. But you do want to look at different pricing strategies, okay, and what's going to work for your business. And this is where you look at your distribution channels. Are you going to be a direct distribution? Are you going to be a dual distribution? Are you going to go through a wholesaler? What are you going to do? How are you going to do that and get it out? All right, get the product out to your customer. Next up is the economic factors, and this is one that gets overlooked quite frequently. Economic factors is what could affect your business. One of the biggest areas that often gets overlooked with this assignment is the legal laws and regulations. And you got to remember that anytime that you own a business, you are going to have laws that affect your business. And those laws can come from the federal level, the state level, the county level, and the city level. So any one of those four can play havoc on your business. So you got to look at that. There's different things like technology. This is looking at the environment around you. What happens if there's a recession? What if the market falls again? How is that going to affect your business? What if the unemployment, people get laid off again? How does that affect your business? These are all things we have to look at. How is the world changing? And we have to plan for that. We can't base that based upon opinion. We have to be paying attention to that. Most business owners spend time paying attention to what laws are being talked about, whether it be even at the local level, because that can affect where your sign goes, what kind of taxes you pay, etc. The next one is worth 25 points, and this has to do with your competition. I am not looking for you to tell me other daycares or my competitors. I'm looking for you to be specific about that. Who are you specifically going to be competing against or with in the area of that place, of that business? So that's worth 25 points. Next up is 12 points for your introduction. Again, now just so you know, PowerPoint does have a note section. So while you can't put everything on a PowerPoint slide, you can give me the details in the note section, and I will look at that and read that. So are you giving me the attention? You know, how is it looking? How does the PowerPoint look? Because that also plays a role. And the transitions, it's also got the transitions in there as well. How does it flow? Are you jumping around? Okay. Next up is the visual presentation, your tone, and your word choice. So you want to make sure that you pick proper words that fit your industry. Every industry has different words, and so you want to make sure you're using words that fit the industry you're going to be talking about. And does it have the appropriate graphics? You know, if you're going to do a bakery, do you have pictures of your food you can use? That's always a good thing to entice people. Last but not least is 8, which is your presentation in terms of grammar and the mechanics. So you want to make sure there's nothing misspelled. Also, don't forget to have your slide or 2 of references. I will be looking at that. And I will be looking for the proper citations throughout the PowerPoint presentation as well. If you have any questions about this video or the assignment, you can call me on my cell phone during my office hours, or if you need to talk after my office hours, please send me an email so we can discuss a time, or you can also text me. I do accept text messages 24 hours a day. Thank you. Have a great day.